Hello, my name is Tanya, and I am with 720 FICO Club. I actually own 720 FICO Club, which is a credit repair company here in Kansas City, Missouri. So I thank you for your patience. This is my first night streaming, and as luck would have it, I had some technical issues and had to just switch out the streaming software that I am using. So I should be streaming into Twitter, YouTube, and my Facebook group, which is Credit Repair Academy. I am wanting to build out what I'm going to call an ecosystem that will entail, uh, of course, credit repair, all things credit repair. That's what I do. And I would be remiss if I didn't also include some topics on personal finances and budgeting, because credit repair and personal finances, I think we can all agree, are directly related. And then I get a lot of requests for business credit. And usually what I find are people, businesses, entrepreneurs who are wanting help with the business credit, getting that established, getting that going, have some things that they're working through on the personal credit. So that even goes hand in hand. So there will be a number of lives like this one. My goal is to get this on a schedule. So it looks like Monday works for everyone. And what I'll do after this live is I'll put out um, a survey here in the Facebook group, and if everyone can let me know, confirm that Monday works well, then what we'll do is we'll do a live on Mondays, and then we'll look at, like, maybe on Thursdays doing a Q&A type session. And I'm on weekends, I'm usually free. So I may even do a surprise live on Saturdays. And these will always be recorded so that you can go back and you can watch them. And as we progress and go along in this group, I'll have some guest speakers, people that are in the, realtors, in the legal field, because when it comes to credit repair, a lot of people have home ownership as a goal. There's a little bit of a different way of going about credit repair when home ownership is the goal. And a huge part of credit repair that most people don't realize are the consumer laws behind credit repair. There's two ways, in my opinion, to permanently delete accounts. One is pay for deletes. The other is finding some way in which an account or something about the account is reporting in violation of credit repair laws. And with that, you could look at suing the credit bureaus or the collection agencies, typically with the assistance of a consumer law attorney. And I am connected with a couple of consumer law firms, and that will be for another day, another video, another topic. But for those that are watching from Twitter or YouTube, I do have the Facebook group posted. Would love to have you join, grow this group, and get some help with DIY credit repair, because I just see the need for it. I see a lot of people making mistakes when they're trying to repair their credit, and it's a lot of times they just don't know, or they have been misinformed. There's so much out there, so much misinformation on TikTok, just everywhere. And you have to really vet what you're watching, who you're listening to, because go down the wrong path, you take the wrong advice, you could tank your credit score versus build your credit score. So speaking of credit scores, tonight's topic is going to be on late payments. I get a lot of requests for late payments. Originally, I was going to talk about late payments and collection accounts, but for sake of time, I am going to focus on late payments tonight, and then I will do collections in my next video, my next live, and it'll probably be combined with charge-offs. So let's get into late payments. As you probably know, one late payment can knock your credit score. I've seen credit scores get knocked by about 100 points. It's just a huge chunk when you have a fresh late payment. The older late payment gets, and it starts to age on a credit report, the impact gets less and less, although there still is an impact. But when you have a late payment that's more recent, a 30, 60, 90, 120-day late payment, that's a big drop in your score potentially, and it can send you into a subprime credit score territory. I've seen it. I deal with it daily. That's why it's important when you're repairing your credit that you look at ways to tackle late payments. You may be able to get a late payment removed. I have pretty good success in getting certain types of late payments removed. And if you aren't able to get a late payment removed, there are some things you can do to at least minimize the impact of that late payment. But I can't stress enough the importance of trying to never make a late payment on a credit card, a car, or a mortgage payment. Also, most lending institutions have their own version of what they consider a quote unquote late payment. So you really need to read your contracts or call up your creditor to make sure that you're aware of the time constraints on late payments. So, and as you probably know, your payment history, that is the number one factor in determining your credit score. FICO, which you have probably heard of, is the most popular credit scoring model here in the United States. Most lenders look at FICO. And you've got your FICO 2, 4, 5 for mortgages. If you're looking to shop for a car or credit cards, that's typically FICO scores 2 and 8. And again, that'll be a whole nother video in and of itself that I will do live on our credit scores, because there's some things that are changing in that realm as well. But with payment history, that makes up 35% of your overall FICO score. Then there's the Vantage scores. And a lot of you are familiar with Vantage because like Credit Karma uses Vantage scores. Not as many lenders are using the Vantage score model, but it is used by some. So if you have a late payment and you're looking at your Vantage scores, like your Credit Karma, a late payment makes up about, I guess I should say the payment history makes up about 32% of the Vantage scores. So again, if you have a late payment on your credit report, this probably represents the biggest negative impact to your score. And it's just not very reassuring to understand that late payments, especially the fresh ones that are like 30 days late, 60 days late, the most current late payments, they are some of the more challenging ones to get removed just because they are so fresh. They're not impossible, but they can be a little bit more of a challenge to get removed. And so again, the negative impact that a late payment will have on your credit score is what motivates a lot of people, my clients, to get them removed if possible, because they can and they will most likely increase your overall credit score. So there's a process for late payments. And I'm going to talk to you about it, the process. It's a process that I use. And I do want to say one thing I want you to note is that if you have an account, like a collection account, charge-off account that's been written off and it's sent to a collection agency, I don't typically dispute a late payment once it's become, like I said, a collection or charge-off account. There are times where I have, and it has raised the score a little bit, but I will typically follow a disputing process for like collections or charge-offs, and that'll be my next go live. And when you're sending letters to the credit bureaus, I'm going to just mention this real quick. You always want to include a photocopy of your driver's license or a state issued ID or a passport, and some other form of identification like a utility bill or a cell phone bill. The credit bureaus require 2 forms of ID to be sent with letters. The ID proves you are who you say you are, and the second form, the utility bill or whatnot, proves that you live where you say you live. If you don't send those 2 pieces of identification with your credit bureau letters, you're probably going to get a letter back from the credit bureaus, like a stall tactic type letter, or they just won't process your dispute. Now, if you are sending letters to the collection agencies, never send your driver's license or any identification to the credit or to the collection agencies. A lot of times they hire temps. You just don't want your information being compromised there. So you do not have to send your information to the collection agencies, just a letter. So with that, what I do when I'm looking at a late payment, I call this kind of like the discovery of facts. Like, why were you reported late? Was it a missed payment? Was it a payment that bounced? Was it a payment that didn't cover the minimum amount? Especially if it's a fresh late payment, you can look back through your statements or you can call the creditor if need be. And again, especially if this is a recent late payment. You want to also look to see if it's a mistake by the creditor, because I've seen this happen where the creditor might have applied the annual or monthly fee to your account, which led to the late payment. Or you might have been locked out of the online access, to the account. Maybe you're paying the account at the last minute, the last day before it goes into late payment status, and you couldn't access the account. The creditor, if you called in the payment, maybe they took down your wrong bank account information. And I've had that happen to a client. In that case, they had to call their bank, and their bank was able to confirm that the creditor had miskeyed in the banking information, and that's why the payment did not get processed. Otherwise, they would have been stuck with that late payment. Or you might have made a payment on time and the creditor failed to post it to your account. Whatever that error is, if it is a creditor error or you feel it's a creditor error, if you can identify it as being a creditor error, it can make it easier just to contact the creditor via phone or letter and ask them as a courtesy to remove the late payment. And if they agree to remove this mistakenly reported late payment, you want to request a letter stating that they are going to remove the incorrect late payment from the credit report. You can also look to see, if there were any extenuating circumstances that led to the late payment. So, and I will say one thing, I don't recommend talking to a creditor about financial hardship or like a job loss as a reason for the payment being late. That typically has not worked for me when doing dispute reasons, trying to get late payments updated to current status. But a third party or extenuating circumstance could be, hey, you were traveling while statements were being sent to your home, or you were in the hospital, or some emotional trauma was happening, or there was like a death or emergency in the family, or maybe the paper statements, your mail got stolen and you never got the statement. So in that case, if you can show some sort of proof of this type of extenuating circumstance that led to the late payment, maybe along with a copy of a bank statement showing that, hey, you have a healthy balance going on here, you have the ability to pay the late payment, but you just either, like I said, you didn't get the statement, or you were in the hospital or something, there was some sort of emergency there, then I have found that creditors may agree to remove late payments under these circumstances. I will say a lot of credit card companies have what's called an executive resolution department. So you can call up and you can ask to speak to the resolution department. If they don't allow you to speak to the executive resolutions department, then mail your complaint to their corporate office and do it by certified mail to the attention of their CEO. And usually it takes about 30 days or so to get a response. Now, you can also file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB. And oftentimes when I'm doing credit repair with clients, we'll do a few rounds of credit repair. And if it's obvious that something is still reporting an error and it has not been corrected, we go to the CFPB. And it's very easy to file with the CFPB. You'll go online and you'll submit your dispute and have the letter or letters that you've been sending to the credit bureau or the creditor or the collection agency as proof that you have made attempt. That's going to go a long ways in helping you. And they will then go to the credit bureau or collection agency or the creditor, whoever you've been writing to, and they have like 15 days. They've got a window period in which they have to respond to the CFPB. So the CFPB, they're going to respond to the CFPB. They may ignore you as the person that's disputing, but they don't ignore the CFPB. The CFPB definitely holds them accountable. So if the creditor comes back within 15 days and they respond to the CFPB and you don't agree with that response, then you can submit additional feedback. The final thing that you can do is you can file a small claims lawsuit or arbitration case against a creditor or the credit bureaus or the collection agency. And again, I'm partnered with a couple of consumer law firms, and that's all that my attorneys do is file litigation against these credit bureaus, these debt collectors, and occasionally the creditors, because of the errors that get reported on our credit reports that don't get corrected, and they have an impact on us when we go to apply for things, or we're getting turned down for things because we've got these errors on our credit reports that they refuse to correct. Now, there are going to be some times where, none of those situations that I've mentioned about late payments apply, and it's, late payment is a late payment. And so I want to show you an example of a credit report, and it's got some late payments on it. So one of the things I advise is looking at the payment history of a late payment, because the payment history, as they will say, the devil is in the details. So when you're looking at late payments, and here's a history that is just plagued. I mean, you're looking at TransUnion, and I'm looking at 1 month, it's reporting okay in August, and then the next month it's reporting 30 days late, and then it's okay, and then 30 days late. And then as I'm looking here, I'm seeing some payment. I'm seeing incomplete payment history, and that's actually not correct either. The credit bureaus have to report with 100% accuracy and completeness. So a lot of times, here's Equifax. I mean, they are not supposed to be reporting incomplete information. So you look at the payment history for Equifax, it is very incomplete. It is missing. So these are things that you can use incomplete data fields, incomplete payment history as a dispute reason. You could also request that the credit bureaus, you see these patterns of 30 days late, okay, 30 days late, no data. You could use that as a dispute reason. You are requesting that the credit bureaus verify that they have the right to report this seemingly inaccurate payment history. It's not your job to tell them, it's their job to tell you, like, what proof do they have that, this payment history is correct, and that they have verified information before they've reported it to your credit reports. So, it's, again, their job, not yours. So when you are creating dispute letters for late payments, and I'm going to include some examples for you. Oops, sorry. Let me go. Where's my... Okay, so here is like a good example of a round one letter when you're disputing a late payment. Again, you're requesting to the credit bureaus that they verify that they have the right to report the late payment, because the credit bureaus are supposed to verify anything before they put it on your credit reports. They're not supposed to just stick things on your credit report. So, as we looked here at slide 7, let me see, slide 6, sorry. This jacked up payment history, for lack of better words, I'm thinking the credit bureaus didn't verify. It's all off. It's not consistently reporting. It's not accurately reporting, and it's missing payment information. So that is, against the credit bureau. That's against the Fair Credit Reporting Act. It's not a credit report that's reporting with 100% accuracy. So you could write a simple round one letter letting the credit bureaus know that you've just reviewed your credit report. You're seeing the following inaccurate items. So when you're writing a credit dispute letter, you want to have a reason and instructions for the credit bureau. Like, here's my reason. Here's what I'm seeing going on in the instruction. Here's what I want you to do. You either want them to delete or to, update, correct. And so you've got to have a little bit of detail in there, just enough to let them know what you're asking for and what you need the end result to be. So in this example, this, letter, this person is basically saying, here's my account number, here's the name of my account. I am seeing, a 30-day late payment. I've not been late on this account, and you can put as many late payments on one letter, as many accounts and as many late payments on one letter. You don't have to write a bunch of letters to the credit bureaus. You can literally put them all on one letter per credit bureau. So list all of your accounts with late payments, with TransUnion, list all of your accounts with late payments for Equifax, and list all of your accounts with late payments for Experian, and then mail those 3 sets of letters out. So you are requesting that they verify the info and provide you with copies of any documentation associated with, their verification investigation. Because when you send a letter to the credit bureaus, they are supposed to start an investigation and verify. As we know, a lot of times they don't really investigate, or they do a poor job of investigating. They don't really verify. I mean, these credit bureau disputing departments are small. You maybe have like 20 people working in them, and they are getting over 1 million disputes per month right now. So that's a lot of disputes to process with, a small staff. And, a lot of times they're outsourcing some of these disputes to other countries. There are other departments in other countries. So again, you are sending them a letter telling them the issue, these accounts, these account numbers, I'm seeing these late payments. I don't recognize this late payment. I don't remember being late, or I've not been late. Verify and provide me with proof, document any sort of documentation that shows that I've been late and that you've actually investigated this late payment. And while you're at it with your letter to the credit bureaus, you can ask them in the same letter to remove all non-account holding inquiries. So we're talking about hard inquiries. So you can ask them to remove all non-account holding inquiries that are over 30 days old, and add a promotional suppression to my credit file, protecting you from like junk mail type promotional pulls and offers. If you don't get a response, I mean, there's different ways to go about once you send letter 1 and you don't hear anything back, or you don't get the details that you need back, you send a second letter. And we call that second letter method of verification. So, say you do get a response and they send you a statement. A statement is not enough. A statement doesn't prove you were late with the late payment. So you would send them a second letter and just letting them know, hey, I've previously written to you about these late payments on these accounts that I'm seeing on my credit report. And, you have not mailed me sufficient proof that you, one, did an investigation. There's nothing here. There's, it's just a statement, or maybe they didn't even send you anything other than a letter thanking you for your efforts. But if they didn't send you what you need, send a second letter. And again, you're reiterating what you're asking for, telling them to mail you with proof of their investigation or remove the negative information. When you send that second method of verification letter, they have 15 days to complete their investigation and get back to you. Now, you can also write a late payment to the creditor. And I would do this if you can do this whether, you are late, because again, you are having them verify to you that they've got the documentation, that they've got the file that shows that you're late. So you can send this letter to them. You can request that they provide documentation you can basically ask for your whole billing statement, your whole billing payment history from the very first letter. So, you can ask them, hey, send me any and all late payments that were made up on the account since this account was open, or else remove the late payment information. Basically update the payment history to paid on time, as agreed, never late. So again, the burden of proof is on them. It's not on you. If they want to, put things on your credit report, they've got to show that they have got the proof in the files to be able to report as such. So that's why we say the burden of proof is on the creditor, it's on the collection agency, and it's on the credit bureau. So that's how, in a nutshell, you can dispute late payments. It's not terribly difficult to do. You just basically, again, you're asking whichever party you're writing a letter to, the credit bureaus, the collection agency, or the creditor, just to provide you with documented proof that the payment was late. Typically the billing detail, all payment history, and when you ask this and you put it in writing and they don't respond to your request for whatever information you're asking, you send a couple letters asking, and if you don't get what you need from them, go file a complaint with the CFPB, because the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, will sort of force the hand of the credit bureaus, the collection agencies, and the creditors to respond to them. And they've been successful. I mean, I've seen people get their deletions, their credit scores are increased, collection accounts get deleted once the CFPB steps in and gets involved. So if you have any questions on late payments, feel free to leave your comments below or send me a message, and I'll do my best to answer those questions. And then our next video, as I mentioned, will definitely be on the topic of collections and charge-offs. So have a great evening, and I will see you guys again soon.